Hi Kiwi, and welcome back to another episode of Hades 1. This is our mirror setup for the day. We are going to be continuing our gauntlet of 32 heat challenges. Today we are going to be taking the aspect of Demeter on the Twin Fists. I figure this is one of the best aspects on the Twin Fists in my opinion, honestly the best aspect. So I figure we'll go into 32 heat relatively easy. We're going to be taking the Zeus keepsake and hope for a nice juicy Zeus attack. We're going to take one level of hard labor lasting consequences, maxing out convenience fee, jury summons, 3 levels of extreme measures, no levels of calisthenics program. I'm not having a repeat of last time on a melee build. That was a very rough last episode, but we managed to pull it through because again the Achilles spear is just so darn strong. Maxing out benefits package, middle management, forced overtime, heightened security, 2 levels of damage control, because the Twin Fist with Zeus can handle that very easily, and 2 levels of tight deadline for a total of 32 heat. If you wanted maybe a little bit of an easier heat setup, you could probably take away the hard labor and lasting consequences and take a level of Underworld Customs. Underworld Customs is surprisingly forgiving to take, honestly, but I'd rather not have to sell my boons, and I feel fairly confident going in with a Zeus boon. That is a good question, Hades, child of Hades. That's a good question, Zacharias, and I hope we don't find out, honestly.
Don't let your father get you, young man, and climb on out from there.
We already had an instance of that in the last episode. Alright, lowest tier lightning strike, but nonetheless, it's still a very good attack boon. I have very little experience running higher tier or higher heat gauntlet runs, so we'll see how rough this goes. I imagine Elysium will be a bit of a problem. That early palm would be nice, but it only gives you like 4 damage on the attack, and the Twin Fists have actually very good hammers, so getting an early hammer is very nice for us. Probably the most thing I have to be careful about is not spamming my dash too often, because I need to use my dash defensively. I have to watch for enemies that have armor, for example, that aren't getting staggered, and dash around them. Ooh, you know what? Long Knuckle is lovely. That'll give us some extra safety on a run like this, so we'll go ahead and take this. More range on the attack and 10% more damage. Heavy Knuckle is actually pretty decent, but it's not great for Zeus when we want to have higher attack speed. Slowing our attack speed to 2 hits per attack is kind of unideal for this sort of a build. But like, look at this. Zeus just shreds enemies. I probably could have taken tight deadline level 3 and been fine. But I like to mess around with these runs. When it comes to speedrunning in this game, I seem to be a little bit too much of a heavy casual, but that's fine. But like, look at that. We are just melting enemy HP bars nice and easy.
All the best from Queen Persephone, young sprout. She misses you, you know.
Ah, that's cute. Now, as far as what I get from Demeter here, I probably want to hold on to my dash slot for Athena, because generally speaking, if you're going to go a higher heat run, just getting Athena makes life a lot easier. The chilled special isn't terrible, but I was kind of planning around Aphrodite. I was thinking about going a smoldering air build. I think I will still take the special here. It's at least punishing, and it's got a decent damage modifier. We'll go for the palm here. I have convenience fee on, so the coin probably would have been better, especially if I had Underworld Customs, where I have to sell a boon at the end of every floor. Then I absolutely would have preferred taking the coin over that, so that I could afford a boon in the mid shop or the end shop.
God's grant me strength.
But like I said, it's only 14 damage from 10 on that attack, so the palms aren't super worth it. The palms are more valuable later on in the game when we get some tier 2 Zeus boons like Jolted and Double Strike, or in this case I guess we don't really get Double Strike on the attack.
If encouragement are not enough, have one of these here, Prince.
So we'll be looking for either high voltage or whatever the multi-bounce move is, which I don't often think about, to set us up for Zeus's legendary later on. But I can get the coin from Sisyphus here, and because we want to be mindful of our tight deadline, we always take...
Hey, Baldy, what's your favorite color?
Green. We always want to take as many like time pausing encounters as possible, like the story rooms like Sisyphus, Eurydice, Patroclus, etc. And then we want as many fountain chambers and Thanatos type encounters as possible, which aren't always guaranteed, but they're nice to see. Now, one thing I'm forgetting to do, because I of course have the aspect of Demeter, is the entire ethos of the aspect of Demeter is every 10 attacks gives you an enhanced special.
That's what you get.
And it does a lot of damage, so I should use that a little bit more often. Frozen Touch isn't terrible here, because it will make it so it gets us a nice defensive boon effectively. Alternatively, Crystal Beam I could make an argument for, but we took Demeter special, so I don't really need it. I think I will take Frozen Touch here. It's not really my favorite boon of hers, but it's the least harmful because I want to keep a slot open for whatever third and fourth god I have for duo boon potential. I'll have to assess what those options become later on. Once we're on in the middle stage of the, or like in the in-between biome regions. Alright, yeah, gauntlets seem fairly forgiving as long as I time my dashes accordingly. I'm just kind of holding attack, but I should, again, remember to use my special. It's just the attack, it has pretty impressive DPS potential, so I don't have to depend too heavily on the special, but a special is basically a one-shot on any HP, on any enemy here without armor. And we're going to take the mid shot because it is a short room. That HP looks nice, but again, especially if I was running a 5-minute tight deadline, I don't want to risk running out of time. Honestly, I think I saved my coin here. Poseidon I could make an argument for, but what does he offer? He offers Tidal Dash. His cast is whatever, and his call is decent, actually. But duos between Poseidon, that would be his Demeter cast duo. Not very interested in that. And Sea Storm, if it's not on the attacker special, which doesn't really synergize well with the gauntlets, it doesn't really do much for us. So I do think I'm going to sit on Poseidon here and probably go at this point Artemis and Athena for safety. I don't really feel like I need Athena's safety, but it's probably better to play safe than regret it later on in the run. Like, if you're not feeling confident in a 32 heat run, always go for Athena. Her dash alone is incredible. Her call is a good extra layer of safety if you want that instead of damage from like Zeus's call or Poseidon's call or even Ares' call, I would make an argument for. And then if none of those appeal to you, of course, just the fact that if you take a core boon from Athena, sans, I think her dash, no, her dash allows for it. Maybe her call. I think aside from her call, as long as you have one of Athena's core boons, Athena can give you up to 2 extra death defiances, which can save a run. See our last episode, if I recall correctly. Well, actually, I think we ended up somehow going from 0 to 4 death defiances with no Patroclus. Certainly, sometimes RNG is just going to be the deciding factor of whether you get a 32 heat clear or not. I'm going to go for the trial. I'm probably going to regret it, but we do need as many tier 2 Zeus boons as possible, and this is our best chance to get one finally.
Gods want me to choose.
That Chaos Gate might be appealing. All right, we'll take a low tier static discharge because we can start palming that and getting his damage up pretty well.
I'm accustomed to such disrespect from all those blasted mortals, Zagreus. But you...
She sounds hurt.
Did what I had to do.
Yeah, we want to melt enemies as fast as possible. We are getting a really icky Tartarus room, meaning, namely, witches that clone themselves. We don't have they're not the enhanced attack speed witches, but they're still really rough. And with Demeter kind of just walling off where they are, I can't easily get to them. So I either take damage or I have to play it very slow. And if you had tight deadline level 5 on, you don't really get a choice about that. Generally speaking, you want to avoid trials when you are on tight deadline. Because, as you can see, you can't always play as quickly as you would like. I tried to hug the wall and see if I could avoid that, and I just wasn't lucky. I might need to toss out a Boldy for HP here, unfortunately. Like, Demeter is, like, zoning me off from these enemies really well, and these enemies are also zoning me off from them because they are zoners. I will say this time and time again, forced overtime witch rooms are the hardest part of Tartarus. And, oh my goodness, with Jury Summons, we were just having so many of them. This is rough. This is genuinely, like, a terrible room. Well, it's not a surprise that I lose a Death Defiance on a trial room, but I am losing a lot of Death Defiance. I'm losing a lot of HP. And it just doesn't stop. Why, game? Why do you have to be this way? What did I do to deserve this? I got greedy. That's what happened. I got greedy.
Remember next time, Zagreus, that on my whim I can take everything from you.
Brutal commentary there, Demeter. Alright, and we don't even get a good Demeter boon off of this. I mean, Nourish Soul I probably have to take. Just, it'll give us some healing, it'll give us some survivability, and it'll make up for all the HP I just lost. I probably don't need to buy this, honestly. I feel like I can handle the Furies well enough. We will definitely want to see Athena on the next floor, though. Palm or coin? I think I'd probably go for the palm for the extra damage on the jolted damage that we have now, but I could really use some max HP sooner than later. I'm not going to take Chaos here. Chaos would be nice HP, but I'm a little worried about them giving us something that could be a detriment to our overall survivability. And most of my damage is honestly going to be coming from my Zeus attack, and then like jolted, and Chaos does not actually do anything to buff those. The best thing Chaos could offer me for this kind of a build would probably be either increased boon rarity to get better Zeus tier 2s later, or HP.
Good enough to eat.
And if that's the only reason I'm taking Chaos, it's probably not worth the risk of dropping my HP by a good 24, I want to say, when I'm already like halfway dead. Ares. Very well said, Garon, you too. I think I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna skip Ares. I'm gonna force Athena, and then I'll probably take whatever fourth god shows up. Artemis would be ideal just for crit chance on all the things I have going. And Lightning Rod is actually very powerful as a duo boon, so I could probably take Athena's. Well, we can't actually use Lightning Rod because we have Stygian Soul, so never mind, or Infernal Soul rather, so it doesn't matter. Maybe, you know what, I'm just gonna take the Ares now, get our fourth god locked in. Out of all of these, none of them are terribly good. Maybe I should have thought more carefully. I guess I'll take Battle Rage because it'll enhance our special every now and again, but that's about it. I guess I can use, if I use this up correctly, I can use our special very offensively against higher HP enemies.
Ready, sisters. I so was hoping you'd show up just now.
All right, so we're gonna wait for her to dash to me, hit her with a cast bailout because she's gonna do a big melee, and then I just need to time my dashes better. Oh, hello. Where'd she go? Okay, so she's gonna do Meg's pattern is basically if you're close enough, she will do a big AoE melee attack, so you have to bail out. Otherwise, she's often just dashing back and forth. She also has this move, which I can't really, it's hard to get close to her for. Gonna hit her with a nice juicy special. That aspect of Demeter does so much damage if used appropriately. And I mean, used appropriately is just use your special. I'm trying to face her to punch and break the projectiles as they come. Unfortunately, auto target decided I'm facing that enemy instead. The other nice thing about having Demeter's attack on the special, or Demeter's boon on the special, is it does apply multiple stacks of chill all at once. Darn it, I was trying to get to the HP. Well, this is once again we are down several Death Defiances leaving Tartarus. Not the cleanest Tartarus, unfortunately. Like that one witch's room just really screwed me over, and that is again the nature of 32 heat runs. The fact that sometimes you just have really terrible RNG. You start with a really bad room, and it just throws the run on its head. That said, we are far from down and out. If the last episode is anything to prove that, I can't afford a Kiss of Styx. I need to save up 360 coin. That's good to remember. And there's nothing here I need to sell because we did not take Underworld Customs. Maybe it would have been better to take Underworld Customs over Hard Labor and Lasting Consequences, but we'll see how this goes. Really, we're going to have to depend on getting some good Zeus boons, and I need to play a little bit better. I need to be using my special more reliably once I have all 12 hits stacked up with the Demeter. The Demeter. All right. Unfortunately, now that we're in Asphodel, Asphodel is a much shorter biome, but it does have enemies. The reason for that, I believe, is just because the rooms are much larger, so enemies are more spread out. So they wanted to make sure that they kind of balance the room size with how long in the room takes. With that in mind, though, if you have good DPS, you can have a pretty darn fast Asphodel. I could really use something in the way of some extra damage, though, so honestly, at this point, my best damage up is getting Zeus's Legendary, and we do not have any prerequisites, so we really just need to see more Zeus as soon as possible. Finally, a little bit of max health. There's Athena. We're definitely going to go for her. As much as a Palm would be nice on Jolted, it's not going to make or break the run. Having Athena's dash is an extra layer of survivability, plus some extra dashes from Hermes, if we can get lucky enough to have those, that will win the run.
What do you say we deal some death together, Zagreus?
At this stage, really, I don't have many boons that I need. The boons that matter most to me right now are going to be the ones that increase my survivability, I think. Because Zeus's attack, again, has pretty good damage on it. That and, of course, just getting a reliable Zeus Legendary. Like, if we get Zeus's Legendary, this is why I took God's Legacy instead of God's Pride. Because, overall, my argument for taking one versus the other, let's consider the reason. So, God's Legacy is if you're hunting for legendaries or duos, and in higher heat runs, you generally don't want to count on those. The reason for that is because you're constantly selling boons to Underworld's Customs, usually in higher heat runs.
Life is short.
The low cunning of your lifeless enemies is not a match for your divine might.
And if you're constantly purging boons, or if you have any levels of, what is it, approval process, where you have fewer options to choose from, it's just really hard to reliably get duos and legendaries by like accumulating all their prerequisites. Had to reroll for the dash, but we got the dash, which is good. Dan is nice because he pauses the timer. We mentioned that in Tartarus.
There he goes.
All right, and there's our Hermes. Now, Hermes versus a shop. The shop is a free room. Hermes is going to be a battle, but it could give us something that really helps the run later. I think, though, for safety reasons, it's better to take the shop, because we did get Athena's dash. That is a huge amount of survivability right out the gate. The mid shop, I will not fight Charon on 32 heat here. We cannot afford that Athena boon. Do I take the palm? Probably not. There are too many things that it could hit that don't really matter. Jolted is the only thing that really benefits from it. Do I take the HP? Nah, I think I'm good. I can handle the mini boss. If it's Mega Gorgon and Skull Crusher, I always have trouble with those two, so I'll have to use I'll have to use a Sisyphus. And especially on a melee build, I always have some amount of difficulty with these guys. Thankfully, if I can position correctly, which I did not, I can hit these guys with the Mega Gorgon's petrifying effects. And thankfully, our Mega Cutter from Demeter's aspect does a whole lot of damage. I'm gonna try and drop. Well, unlucky. Oh gosh. So I'm gonna just drop Sisyphus here and hope that the Skull Crusher bounces on top, but it doesn't. Okay, that was a little broken there. Its big AoE attack got delayed. I think it's bugged there. It just kind of got frozen in the air there. Maybe it was a little too chilled by Demeter. As previously stated, I tend to have some trouble with that boss. I always get stoned and then I'm just getting crushed. Ravenous Will, not bad here. 10% damage reduction, just flat out, as long as we don't have a cast stone, which I can toss out my cast a little more regularly, and it gives us a 30% damage buff.
That's cold.
HP versus Chaos. I mean, the argument I made before against Chaos is kind of still sitting. There's a call to Chaos for me, but I think I'm going to play it safe and go for the HP here. Or not. Oh my goodness. Sometimes I just overshoot the gates here and land in the lava, and it just feels terrible. Alright. So we've had our mini-boss, and we've had our mid-shop, so there is still a chance we could see the Death Barge, just unlikely. I don't think I've seen another mini-boss offering yet, so there is a possibility we could still see the Death Barge on this run. So the way it works is once a mini-boss has been offered, they will not show up again for the rest of the run, similar to how the story rooms work. Once the story room has been offered, they will not show up. So if I see the offering to go to Eurydice's room or Patroclus's room, etc., and I don't take it in that instance, they're never going to show up again for that run. These are, of course, separate per floor. You can have all three stories show up, or you could have none of them show up, depending on your RNG and your well, basically just that, your decision-making and your RNG. I'm playing a little bit safer, but it's paying off. This is a whole lot of HP. I could make a very strong argument for that, and then it's Zeus versus... Oh, this is like the worst. We have seen Demeter show up so often, and Zeus finally decides to show up, but he's in competition with his son. I think I'm going to go for the HP here first.
Yeah, might as well.
Interloper.
And let's see what we get. Again, the nice thing about this sort of build is I do kind of melt enemies. The issue is Gorgons. Gorgons just counter me because I get clipped by one of their stones and I get trapped, and then I'm going to take a lot of damage. So I'm trying to first focus them down. They don't have armor, so I can stagger lock them with the fist, unless they hide behind a well-positioned pillar, apparently.
How many times?
All right. A little bit of time waste, but we net positive. I think, honestly, I have more safety by doing more damage than I get from whatever Hermes could offer us. The biggest things we want from Hermes are, of course, anything that leads into more damage. Hyper Sprint would be ideal into rush delivery, but more dashes would just give us more survivability with Athena's dash. But Zeus, the damage potential that Zeus offers is a little bit too enticing to give up here. I have to remember that I did take Ares of all things, so I can't. I'm not going to build around the concept of getting an Athena later on. The real question is, going into Elysium, do I take a Lucky Tooth? Because there is a decent chance that I could just bite it on the heroes. The heroes are rough, especially on a melee build. So don't feel bad if you have trouble with the heroes. At least I can't feel bad, because I definitely have trouble with the heroes on higher heats, particularly. Especially when Asterius just decides to turn on a dime and it feels like there's very little I can do to counter that. Asterius's turning axis is kind of insane with forced overtime. Like, when he's slower, you can deal with it, but you really do have to, like, position your back right up against a wall and then dash at the very last second, and sometimes that timing is just way too tight for me.
Lord Zeus.
Alright, so we did not get any of the Zeus wounds we really need. It's probably best I use one reroll here and see what we get. Cold Fusion. Over the cast, which is useless to me, and Heaven's Vengeance, which is minimally beneficial. I think I'll just take this. It
Electric.
in worst case scenario lets us kite out enemies. Now this is because we had the mid shop, this is the end shop, which means this Zeus boon is free. There's no encounter here other than just a boon. We take that for sure. We're looking to stack as much Zeus as possible, and here's our chance to do so.
Olympus, I accept this message.
So we're still not getting lucky. What we need is, because we only have his attack right now, we need Storm Lightning to be the prerequisite to his legendary. So I probably reroll for Storm Lightning, and if I get his call again, I take his call.
How about a different set of choices?
Lightning Reflexes, Heaven's Vengeance, or his call. Alright, we take his call because at least now we can get Double Strike, which is another prerequisite to his legendary, and his call does a lot of damage, so I'm not going to complain about that. This is kind of why I was thinking about going a Smoldering Air build, because you can just spam his call off cooldown, and it just does so much damage in rapid succession.
Lately, Lenny. Everything just fine?
Alright, I need to, I have to keep in mind that I need to keep tossing out my cast. The reason for that is, one, of course, we have Ravenous Will, which will give us damage reduction and damage enhancement by a whole 30%, which is nothing to sniff at. The reason beyond that, though, is just Boiling Blood. Boiling Blood, the mirror perk, gives us an extra, a whole extra 50% damage as long as we have an enemy holding our cast. Now, it's a lot easier to have the cast, just have one cast used and have that enemy hold that cast for some time. Whereas with Ravenous Will, we have to use our cast on cooldown to get those buffs. So one is definitely easier to maintain, but like, look at that damage. If I use my resources correctly, I am just gonna melt enemies. Also, if I use my dashes correctly, I won't get hit by enemies. I'm gonna toss out a call here. Keeping in mind that I have Cold Fusion now, I can hit an enemy with my attack and move on to the next enemy, and they will kind of effectively have a damage over a time effect on them because of Cold Fusion will keep going for 10 seconds, so every time they attack, they just take more and more damage. Kind of in a similar vein to my cast, I need to use my call off cooldown as well, because it just does so much damage. Or charge her up for a greater call, that's fine too, I suppose.
No more heads.
But there we go, a pretty clean Lerny for a melee build. Not going to complain about how that went, and we do have enough coin now to afford a Death Defiance. Actually, no, we're 8 coins short. That's unfortunate. Watch, it's going to be here, and it's never going to show up again on this run. I guess I could take the coin purse for a Death Defiance, but it's objectively, I mean, it's ultimately the same benefit to just take the Skelly keepsake, I think. So I think for safety reasons, I will take the Lucky Tooth here, and then we go with that.
Bye, Asphodel.
I'm trying to think, is there anything else to say at this point? I mean,
Dead must have it pretty good out here.
Elysium is rough. I feel like Elysium is, it goes, when you're learning higher heats, Elysium is the biggest gatekeeper, I think. Well, I mean, every region is. I think Asphodel is hands down the easiest region in every way, aside from when you get an unlucky Draken room without a Athena boon, I suppose. For these Flame Chariots, best strategy to deal with them is to just not deal with them and dash over barriers. Most important thing to recognize, though, is if the barrier is too wide, you may not make your dash width across it. So, for example, this, like, you can dash across that, but it's basically the upper limit. It would be easier to position on this corner here and then dash back. This chariot, man. Okay, well, that stinks. Sometimes the turning access of everything that moves fast is just a little too extreme for my taste. I saw that butterfly ball only had like 1 hit left in it, so I just tossed out the cast to finish it so I don't go wandering through its butterflies. That's a pretty short room. Let's see. Breaching Crush. Dash Strike pierces and deals 900% damage to armor, or Rush Kick. We're not even going to consider Heavy Knuckle because that will just nerf our DPS substantially since we're depending on Zeus Spoons. Rush Kick I could make an argument for. It probably scales really well with Demeter, but the animation is very long. I think Breaching Cross is my best option, because now my dash attack will melt armor. Okay, we're finally seeing our first Hermes in a position where it's the most optimal choice. Man, we are getting some... Flame Wheels are rough when you are running a gauntlet build, I have to say. But again, most of the time, the Flame Wheels will not, like, path perfectly to counter you. I'm gonna just basically ignore these splitters until the Flame Chariots are done. I'm more likely gonna take more damage from the Flame Chariots than the splitters, especially because I can reflect them with dash.
Solid day so far there, boss. Well, all that's about to change. You got my guarantee.
Alright, Hermes, you give us Hyper Sprint. Alright, we will take Hyper Sprint. That gives us 30% damage reduction when we dash. It sets us up for Rush Delivery, and it gives us move speed for half a second, which can... it's easy to take for granted how much move speed can save a life. I think maybe an optimal strategy here is to just make sure I tag every enemy at least once so that they get popped by Jolted. I know there's an enemy respawning to the left, but I just didn't feel like I had the time to deal with it without killing the other Revenants before they respawn, and I'd rather beat the cluster than the small number of what remained. I'm going to toss out the call here. Again, good damage in a situation where DPS does kind of matter. We have a lot of time on tight deadline, but I still need to be respectful of it because Elysium is going to be by and large the slowest biome unless we get a really unlucky Styx. We got lucky in the last run where we got the 2-chamber Styx. I don't count my luck forever. It is going to last forever. Bigger chariots are a problem. They on a melee build just ruin your day, and I don't necessarily have a good strategy for dealing with them other than just having to find a way to kite out their charge and then go in for the kill. So I guess you can kind of apply the same strategy I was using for the flame chariots and use the walls to your advantage. Use them to block ranger projectiles. Use them to kite out chariots. That's kind of the name of the game in Elysium. You need to hug walls and use them for safety as much as possible. Mini boss for Ares. If it's Butterfly Ball, fine. If it's Asterius, I will lose a Death Defiance. I still think I go for it. Regardless, I'll drop a Boldy early on to get the HP. Okay, Butterfly Ball is fine. We can handle Butterfly Ball. Wait for it to reposition before I go and drop Boldy. Waste my cutter there, oops, and use my ravenous, or my greater cutter, that's the word. I'm gonna try and take out this ranger just because it's gonna be a pain tagging me from behind. There we go. And that's why the Butterfly Ball, I generally consider easy. The only reason I have an issue with Butterfly Ball is when I'm running dash-only runs because dashes don't kill the butterflies, but most of your attacks do, so especially non-melee builds handle the Butterfly Ball really easy.
I faintly sense the mark of Goddess Demeter upon you, Her power over plentitude is opposite to mine in some respects, but lately she has channeled it in manners more agreeable to me.
I know this isn't his duo because we don't have the prerequisites and we don't even have a core boon from him, so he's just commenting on the fact we have Demeter. Here's what we have to take. Honestly, Blood Frenzy could give us a lot of damage in the final fight, so I'm going to take that because
This is my fight.
I'm almost inevitably going to lose a Death Defiance, although, hey, there's Patroclus. Oh, and Chaos. We choose Patroclus over Chaos here for sure.
Oh, it seems we have a visitor. You'll show that champion of ours, won't you, stranger?
So, it's a little suboptimal to get the Kiss of Styx now, but it's always optimal to have more Death Defiances. So, I'm not complaining. Like, yeah, we wasted the Lucky Tooth, but... Mid shop, we definitely go mid shop. We have a lot of coin. I probably want to hug around 360 coin just to keep myself able to replenish Death Defiances. We'll take the mystery boon though.
My blessing be with you.
Proud Bearing or Bronze Skin or her cast. I mean, getting her cast and her Zeus Athena duo boon isn't terrible, but then I consider I really would prefer Zeus's legendary over his duo with Athena, so giving myself less chance to see that in the god pool would probably be ideal. That said, I don't know, a big AoE reflecting attack does sound kind of nice. Granted, we have the dash, so I don't really need it. That would lock us out of any potential duos with Ares, but I don't really need a duo with Ares. None of his duos matter here for me. Vengeful Mood is useless since I don't have Vengeance Spoons and I'm not going to build around them. His duo with Demeter and his duo with Athena, we can't get either if I take Athena's cast. I'd need Blade Reft for the Demeter Ares duo. I think, yeah, 10% damage reduction really isn't as much as you think it is. I'm going to go with Phalanx Shot here. It locks in a core boon slot, and it gives us more chances of seeing Athena's Death Defiance refunds later. It also makes sure that we're more likely to see Zeus's tier 2s, and at worst case scenario, we get a pretty solid duo boon, all things considered, if we don't. I'm going to save my coin and not buy the palm here, and I'm definitely avoiding the trial this time. Neither Demeter nor Ares offer any major boons that would really make or break the run here. Splitters are actually kind of nice to deal with, because as long as you make sure you have one dash up to deal with them, reflecting their projectiles basically one-shots them. See, that splitter just got popped immediately. So Athena's dash is just such an amazing defensive tool. There are very few situations where you don't want to take it, and that's mainly when you're doing a not Athena dash only run, or you're, I don't know, you're looking for a specific dash for DPS, like Tidal Dash, for example. Tidal Dash is probably the second best dash in the game in terms of at least damage. In terms of damage potential, it is the highest base damage dash by, oops, I got hit by a trap. Okay, Hide and Security. I was so focused on the Flame Chariots that I kind of forgot, well, Hide and Security is still on the table. So I can choose to hug walls. Just don't choose to hug the walls that are big and pointy and do a ton of damage if you get clipped by them. Also, don't dash into eggs like that, because if the room hadn't cleared there, I probably would have died. That's unfortunate. I mean, this is the scariest part. These are HP ups. I could take them. I don't think it's worth taking them. Do I honestly re-roll for a Kiss of Styx? That might be optimal, but I'm going to sit on my coin for now. I don't feel the sweat yet. We'll take the HP. I think I have enough coin at this point, and aside from Zeus Boons, there are very few things I want in this build. I need to be mindful of using. It's not really optimal to use my special until I have my my Greater Cutter fully charged, and I've been kind of using it regardless. Mostly because I just have to look for the announcement that the cutter is fully charged, and I'm missing. I'm firing off my special a little early. Well, as I've said before, I don't think I've ever done a high heat run, a 32 heat run on the Twin Fist that wasn't just a gimmicky dash only run. We've done that twice, so technically I've beaten 32 heat on the fists twice now, but I wouldn't count it in the same vein as doing a legitimate run. Oh goodness, Chariots. So we're gonna bail out. I'm gonna depend on my call for DPS here. Still got tagged by the Chariot. Thankfully, the difference between Chariots here and the Chariots I've been doing at 50 heat are at least they don't have, they don't hit for 50s. They still hit way too hard, and I still don't have a great answer to them. Had to be careful there because I almost got clipped by the Chariot. Shielders are another bane of my existence, admittedly. Honestly, the whole of Elysium, except for Splitters, with it whenever I have an Athena boon going, are the banes of my existence. It's just all rough. At least we have Cold Fusion, so I can entice them to attack and then get some good Jolted damage on them, but Jolted is only 100 damage right now. Actually, it's like 90-something damage, so it's not going to make or break the run. Cold Fusion is really a whatever kind of duo. I took it so that it doesn't compete with Zeus, Demeter, Zeus's legendary pool later on. We take the shop here. This is the end shop. I should have checked that Infernal Trove and seen if it gives HP. Probably wouldn't have been worth it. I will buy the HP here. The Palm Slice is probably not going to hit anything relevant, but I think I just take the HP here and save my money for a Kiss of Styx potential. Ares is cute, but really does not offer us anything significant anymore. We've gotten the 2 boons he offers that offer the most, except for maybe Urge to Kill, which ups our base attack damage. But again, we're not depending on our base attack damage so much as we're depending on our Zeus boons, so... Oh my goodness, calm down. Calm down.
Dare you clash against the champion of Elysium and his most trusted friend?
So I'm very scared of Asterius because he is going to melt us if I get too close. I think I probably just focus down Theseus first and let Asterius kind of group together. Charge up my Greater Cutter and save that for the 2 of them when they're close like that. Like, that was a very well played hit. Yeah, I think this is my plan. Bull, calm down. He does give you a fair bit of time to attack him after he lands a charge and misses. And he basically what you need to kind of do is, whoa, hello. I'm just going to DPS, screw it. Need to remember to keep Ravenous Will going. Okay, Theseus is melted. This is a good chance for some damage. Wasted my Greater Cutter like nothing there.
Lady Aphrodite, guide my hand.
I am somehow not taking any hits here, and I don't know how. I can't explain what I just did. It was just perfect timing. Okay, there's all the damage. All right. All right, Theseus' phase, or Asterius' phase, going to use a greater cutter here. He turned around at the last second, so unfortunately I didn't get the hit. Bailing out for safety. Aphrodite being a little jealous about the fact that we chose not to use her. Oh, I'm gonna get clipped. Okay, Theseus is done. I can play super safe against Asterius, or I get hit once and I just lose my Death Defiance. I still have a Sisyphus here. I probably try to use it. Whoa, oh, whoa. Oh my goodness, how did I not get hit there? All right, Boldy. I'm gonna drop Boldy and then bail out, and then when Asterius is done doing his nonsense, then I go in for the HP. This bull is a little charge happy. Unfortunately, this only counts as one attack, so getting him hit with Cold Fusion, even though he's jolted, doesn't actually do anything for us here. I'm gonna just try and kite him around this wall. Alright, I'm playing super safe and I'm getting punished for it regardless, but if I can keep this Death Defiance, that would be really good for us, so I'm trying my darndest. This is why melee builds are so sketchy for me. Like, I feel way more confident about the gauntlets, so that's fine. But the sword in particular, I'm going to have such a rough time on. Okay, I knew he was going to charge. There we go. Get some good attacks, bail out. I have, like, if you have tight deadline going, you have to play so safe to not die here. And I'm not good enough to do it. I'm not good enough to be fast and effective. I don't know, especially with Forced Overtime. Like, if Forced Overtime wasn't on at max, I'd be fine.
There's my shade.
all it goes to show you is I need to practice more with Forced Overtime. That said, my boons are carrying me a little bit. We are making our way into Styx. I wonder if it's better to take Evergreen Acorn now, because I'm not likely going to use the Skelly charge, and if I am, I always make the argument that Acorn blocks more damage than one Death Defiance does against Hades. Assuming you're not doing Extreme Measures 4 and getting the Butterfly Ball. Alright, so we got our extra Death Defiance, so we're heading into Hades pretty well off, but I will have to play super safe, especially in Phase 1, potentially, because Phase 1 just always wrecks me. I don't need to sell anything here. In previous 32 heat runs, what I have chosen to do is only take one level of Forced Overtime. That seems super doable. I may have to double down on that mentality for future melee builds, but we'll see. I have a lot of safety, and worst case scenario, if we do lose a Death Defiance on the way to Hades, there's a decent chance that Athena shows up here and gives us one more. Alright, do we see any Zeus? So there's Athena, so we do have a safety net, potentially. No Zeus, okay. So I'm going to go for the HP first. The reason I'm going to go for the HP first is because if I lose a Death Defiance on the way to Athena, the HP will let me heal more off of the Death Defiance, and Athena could then potentially offer us the Death Defiance that we need anyway.
Not now.
Basically, this is
Not yet.
the tankiest defensive option for minimizing risk of lost run, you know? Like, here's the thing, like, we have maintained a win streak for some time now. That doesn't mean it's safe. Like, yes, I'm over 110 now, I think, on the win streak, and hopefully continuing to see that rise. If we can make it to 140, that means we have successfully beaten all the 32 heat challenges, in theory. But unfortunately, the lack of Zeus's legendary really hurts us for Hades. We do not have a lot of... Oh, good, Tony. The scariest boss to deal with at a melee range, and we get him again. We got him in the last run too. I guess technically I do have Cold Fusion, which will let us get some damage on him, but there's a decent chance I lose a Death Defiance here, unfortunately. I mean, if he's just gonna sit here and let me deal all my damage, I can deal with that. I don't actually know where the tiny vermin is. He's wandered off and just left us with his friends. We're gonna kite these guys away from the poison because, of course, a melee build versus a ton of poison on the ground is not ideal. We do seem to have pretty solid DPS, and once again, I need to remember to use my Ravenous Will up where possible. Tony, the thing is, because we took, I guess this is one thing to acknowledge, because we took Frozen Touch, Demeter's Vengeance boon, we are slowing enemies every time we get hit. So that offers us a fair bit of survivability, because I think Tony is programmed to dig away and reposition when he takes a certain threshold of damage, and we were constantly meeting it, and he couldn't get enough attacks off because we were just DPSing him so fast. Alright, I don't take that other Athena boon until after we clear this next chamber, or until we see our Satyr sack, and the reason for that, again, is it can potentially offer us a Death Defiance, and if I don't have the need for a Death Defiance, that would go to waste. So this is kind of, again, just a optimizing myself for success sort of mentality. All right, so I prefer taking mini boss chambers. I find that mini boss chambers are sincerely the safest options for when you are climbing sticks, because it's usually 1 or 2 enemies that you can focus all your damage on. And if you have a build that's made for bossing, that means you can deal with them very quickly. If you have a better AoE build, maybe the non-mini boss chambers are better, but I think in terms of time, in terms of time saving and potential for your DPS that you've built up until this point, it is certainly more optimal to go the route of the mini boss chambers first and then save the larger chambers for later. I do need to be very mindful that traps and sticks basically one-shot me. I think those discs do a minimum of 60, but I'm pretty sure it's 100. Okay, we got the lucky 2 chamber sticks. Awesome.
A sack fit for a huge 3-headed hound.
What does Athena offer us that would benefit me? Blinding Flash sets us up nicely for status privilege, makes it so I can backstab better damage. Alternatively, Deathless Stand does make it so I have 3 seconds of imperviousness. This is basically a damage versus survivability sort of argument. And I don't know what the better option is, admittedly. Alternatively, 10% damage reduction, but I think I'm going to go for the DPS up, honestly, because I think this is going to be a battle of the faster I kill Hades, the safer I will be. And then we'll go ahead and buy this other Athena boon.
Just what I need.
Restores 10% more HP on a Death Defiance. I don't know how much that matters, honestly. Alternatively, Holy Shield gives us a little bit of extra survivability. It makes it so that enemies can't, like, rapid hit us, which sometimes can just wreck us. We can take, like, a rapid 20-30. This will make it so we only take the 20, for example. I think I'm going to take that. We've got our survivability. We didn't need any Death Defiances refunded.
Persuades the Underworld's ferocious guardian to move aside.
And now we're heading into Hades for hopefully a win. If not, a hard-fought battle that is likely going to be fairly close. Or I just get absolutely smacked. I think I had 1 extra Sisyphus left. It's a shame I didn't use that, but it's fine. It'll be fine. Really looking forward to a rail or a bow run where I can have an easier, more casual 32 heat.
Long.
All right, here we go. Wish me luck, Kiwi. We got 8 minutes on the clock. That should be more than enough time.
Who's going to kill whom this time around?
This should be more than enough time to deal with 2 phases of Hades since we don't have Extreme Measures 4 on. There was no way I was taking Extreme Measures 4 into this, although it would have made the run up a little bit easier, so maybe it would have been better. So what I want to make sure I do is I at least tag him with 1 jolted before I bail out so that I can get the damage enhancing effect. And keep in mind, again, I do have... There we go. So I have whatever Demeter's Vengeance Boon is. Granted, I didn't get to benefit from it there, but it does seem to, if I get hit while the acorn's up, it does still activate. Interesting that the boiling blood effect doesn't get blocked, but the damage from it getting applied does. Weird. I'm gonna go ahead and toss out a Zeus call so that I can kill these enemies a little bit faster, because as always stated, phase 1 of Hades is by far the scariest part of Hades for me. But I think we have enough DPS that I can kind of just go into monkey brain mode. A shame, you know, we never got our second Hermes. Hermes showed up 3 times and he just only showed up once when it was relevant, or the better decision. I mean, speaking relatively, I wonder if I got anything from the things that I chose instead of him. All right, once again, I want to focus on bursting down his allies as quick as possible. Alternatively, I could just turn my DPS towards Hades himself and hope that that gets rid of these guys get despawned if I kill them. If I kill Hades' phase. I don't think that's the way to go. It's just safer overall, I think. I am eating every hit that he's launched at me, but we're already halfway through phase 1 without a Death Defiance down, and I have Blood Frenzy, which will give us a 22% damage up when I do die, so I think we are fine. Yeah, if this is us getting out of phase 1, that was probably the majority of my deaths right there. Especially because if you don't have Extreme Measures 4 on, you can just stand point blank against Hades. And, oh, hold on. Hey, apparently I have an alarm set for something. I'll have to check what that is after the run. My apologies for that. I don't have an excuse. That was careless of me. Right, we've got Greater Call. We're going to drop this, do as much damage as possible. Alright, well, what I'm trying to say is his lasers, we can stand melee distance and just melt him when he tosses out lasers. The downside to this is it requires him to use his lasers, which he doesn't seem very committed to doing right now. Wasted a greater cutter there. All right, not gonna risk getting hit by the lasers. We were too far away. Again, the cheapest thing I can do right now is just tag him with like one hit and then just let him die to Jolted. We have the time to do so. Also, I do have a Boldy. I should drop that for HP. And since he's gonna kindly just stand still for us, this is my best chance to do so. That was some good damage on him. Got the HP back. We're gonna take out these things so that they're not a problem. I do not believe, even if you are in the range of his... See, here's the example. He just stands still for us, and we can just melee him at safe distance. You can't do that with Extreme Measures 4 on, but here you can. All right, and we win. There we go. Second 32 heat win of the challenge.
I must admit, you learned something at some point in all this.
That leaves us with 22 more wins to go, I think. But
see you at home.
For anyone watching this,
I did it.
Who struggles with melee weapons at higher heat, trust me, I am there with you. The gauntlets, I think, are a lot more forgiving. The spear is easily the most forgiving. The sword is going to be the bane of my existence when I start doing them on 32 heat. But the most important thing is you have to be mindful of your time. So take higher level tight or lower level tight deadlines if you feel like that's going to be an issue. But play safe. There's a point where your damage just isn't enough. And you have to be, you kind of need to learn how to judge, do I have enough DPS to just go full monkey? Or do I have enough DPS to, or do I need to play safe? And I kind of had a mix of both through the run. We never really got much to make this run truly pop off, honestly. We had a little bit of everything, but nothing really stood out. I don't know, this is how I'm going to honor the run. 115 win streak, 147 total clears. Not a bad run, but not a great run either.
The underworld's power.
It is what it is, and I'm pretty happy with the overall result, so we did it.
The oft-impatient Zagreus appears to take repeated deaths in stride, and so here comes another one for him.
No, wait!
All right, so let's do our I'm talking to the side of my microphone, sorry. Let's do our house roundup and call it a night. Boy. That was the weirdest boy delivery he's had in some time.
What's the latest?
Oh, something happened in Elysium, just don't know what. So fun story that I will tell after these guys have been talked to. So Kiwi one day just randomly, in reference to Hades, called me boy, and it was weirdly emasculating, and I made a big deal of it as like a joke. Like I played it up a lot, but it was really funny because I'm just like, you put that bread in the oven, boy, and I'm like, whoa, Kiwi, what is this power dynamic that's developing between us right now? This is weird.
It just struck me how much you've changed, Zag. I still remember when you kept trying to singe Cerberus's tail with your feet. Haven't seen you do that in a while.
Zagreus, that is bad boy behavior. Don't ever burn your dog. That's rude. That's terrible.
Well, I definitely learned my lesson there. But thanks, I guess. You've opened up a lot yourself, by the way. Talking to you lately, it's a world apart from the first time. You look like you were going to slice my head off.
I would love it if somewhere in between Hades 1 and Hades 2, there is some sort of photo of Cerberus as a puppy.
It sure must have taken a lot of courage for you to come right up and tell me you thought I looked better before I cut my hair. I still ask myself how come I didn't keep ignoring you after that. Or slice your head off.
Oh man, Edgy Slice Boy had long hair at one point. I would have loved to see long hair, Than. Bet he would have been beautiful.
The option is always available, I guess. Hey, you ever think of growing it out again?
No. It kept getting in my way. Sliced it right off and never looked back. So, plenty of personal growth all around then.
Yeah, I get that.
Definitely.
748?
748. That's a coincidence.
Yep. So I actually, for those who don't know, I do have long hair actually, and I certainly lament the nature of
Cerberus makes no attempt to move.
How in the way it can get sometimes.
Here, boy. Just as long as one of your three heads enjoys these pets.
Reasons why I like to keep a ponytail on at most times, especially when I'm doing housework, because nothing's worse than your hair just flipping into your face when you need to see things in front of you.
That was a job well done back there.
And I don't think anything is worse than what happened in the last episode where the hair gets caught between my face and my glasses and just tries to trigger me to sneeze. Like, that is the absolute worst. The absolute worst.
You're not too broken up about how things ended between you and Hypnos, are you, Meg?
No.
I'm still in a state of shock. I'll have to pick up the pieces somehow and figure out how to get on with my existence.
Poor Meg, she got broken up but with, Hypnos broke up with her. From the sounds of it.
Have you tried sulking in the lounge?
She does that a lot, doesn't she? They're a fun pair, all of them.
And serve this house.
I guess it's more than a pair. They're a fun group. All right, Kiwi. Well, I am going to go see what our next 32 heat challenge will be, and I'll pick my weapon from there. Let's see. What have we got? We have got... Oh, hooray, a rail. I have been craving a aspect of Lucifer run for some time now. That's what we're going to do. Because we took Zeus this time, I'm not going to do Zeus, because Zeus is... Oh, you know what? We have to. There's only one weapon where the Super Soaker is viable. Technically, it is a Zeus build, realistically speaking, but we are going Super Soaker. We're going to have a really rough early game, but the later the game goes on, the stronger we get. Let's do this. All right, 32 heat Super Soaker. I'm going to go ahead and drop a level of Forced Overtime and put on a level of... Yeah, I think for safety, I'm gonna put on a level of Underworld Customs, get rid of a level of Forced Overtime, and then we'll just take an extra level of Lasting Consequences, and that should be fine. I'm running the rail. I can play super safe from a distance, and the Super Soaker is such a meme build. Let's do this. Okay, Kiwi, and the next one, look forward to that.
Relationship, boyo, requires no exchange of words.
With all that said, Kiwi, I hope you've enjoyed watching, and if you're awake, I hope this is helping you fall asleep. If you're sleeping, I hope you're sleeping well. I love you, and I will see you in the next one for some more Hades 1 fun. Kaboom. Or not. Awkward. Boom.